It's a great pleasure to be here to meet long-lost friends, and then talk about the math fonts done nominally by GUST e-foundry, but without help, such people like Will, like Hans, like Ulrich, like Barbara, we would do nothing. So thank you very much from the very beginning, and let's go. Just to let you smell the flavor what the math font, I'm only speaking about math font in the open time format. What it is, our starting point was important document by Barbara and Freitag and Sargent. What should such font consist of? You are not expected to learn this table by heart, but just to see that there is plain, italic, bold italic, sans serif, script that is calligraphic, bold script, fracture, double struck, and monospace, and each of these scripts contain different set of glyphs. And this was our starting point. It doesn't specify everything, because, for example, there is no specification which of the scripts should contain subscript and superscript of first and second order. I believe that if one wants, then may have subscript and superscripts to all of the scripts, but we decided that we want to subscripts only to a few basic, I would say, subset of glyphs, that is plain, italic, bold, and bold italic. We did them using the well-known and old method taken from Euler font, just by scaling and widening glyphs, and it works. Could be better, but it would be a lot of effort, but we were not sure that it's worth it. Nobody complained about the illegibility of subscripts, so we assume that it's enough. And as we are at subscripts, this is not only the shape of the letter, there should be given scaling, positioning, and everything of that kind is given in the math table of open type. This was second our important documentation. Initially it was confidential, but now it's official part of the OTF specification, and is available from internet. This table specifies a lot of things, and will perhaps knows how it's difficult and not obvious. And here, here, pardon. Study of Ulrich was very useful, who nurtured all this table and explained meaning of the glyphs and relationship between math understanding of the parameters and OTF understanding of parameters. Here you have just scaling factor for subscript, horizontal and vertical dimension, math axis, some extra information which glyphs have dotless counterparts, chains of growing characters, which is known and actually is taken from tech. This idea was taken from tech, and many other subtle parameters. And again, you are not are not supposed to remember it. Just to let you know that the math fonts in general are nasty beasts, and math fonts are particularly nasty. You can see this, all what I said can be seen here. This is a short screen that resembles how to say it, no, typesetting case. Yeah, very similar to that. And we have, it's of course not everything. This is just a small fragment because we have more than 4,000 glyphs, and do we need more, and what for? I will leave these questions open. This picture, previous, resembles very much the swarm of flies. Another swarm of flies you can see here on papers printed. And that's correct, because every fly has its own rich and rather complex structure, especially in math font. But I prefer to see the font as a one creature, one well-structured creature. Perhaps it's more my dream than reality, but still it's easier to cope with fonts having this point of view. Anyway, structure of the OTF math font is not rocket science. So why, after 8 years, we have a dozen typefaces during 8 years? Asana by Apostolos, Neo Euler by Khaled, Lucida by Charles and Chris, Minion by Johannes. These two are commercial, very well done. Sticks by but companies under the Barbara leadership. And Xits by Khaled Hosni. Asana is based on Palatino. Sticks and Xits are based on Times. And then we have 6 math fonts done by our foundry with a lot of help of our friends. Bonum, that is Bookman, Pagella, that is Palatino, Termes, it's Times, Schola is schoolbook. Moreover, we did Latin Modern and Déjà Vu Math. Recently, Déjà Vu was done. So why? We have a simple query to Google, gives you such a number of foundries. You perhaps will find much more if you wish. And still, there are few. So you can invent explanations. I believe that this list could be much longer, but we prefer the final one. Again, it's easier to live with such an explanation. But this is important part. What to do next? Is a next math font really needed? If not, maybe not. That what can be done? Answers are simple. Rather not next math font. These are sufficient for now. People anyway don't use it very extensively, but maybe exception is Will, who uses it for his tests and for hours, testing our work. But what can be done is really a lot. First, we can think about improving the engine. We can improve the structure of the font. So far, there is no math kerning implemented. We can add it, for example, but we are not quite sure whether this is important feature anyway. It works somehow now, and without manual manipulations anyway, cannot be the precise result or neat result cannot be achieved. What about this extending repertoire? We rather would be reluctant to do it. But if there is a substantiated need, then we are open to of course, testing, and improving kerns, side bearings, shapes. But perhaps most important are three aspects. First, preparing non-standard fonts. Sans serif, bold, and text editor math font. Examples of how it might look like you may find on this poster, yellow one. How we imagine the bold and sans serif math. We have no clear idea what should be the contents of the font for text editor. This is perhaps our most close projects that we want to carry out. As a side effect of this math project could be broadening the repertoire of math-oriented glyphs in the GUST e-foundry text fonts, so I mean tech gyres. And last but not least, unfortunately, there is problem of license. Frank perhaps knows about it a lot. Yeah, so it's really license. But we are forced to reconsider it again and again and again and again, and probably we will end up with double license for our fonts. A few words about why we don't want to improve the engine. Because we are not controlling the world, so we want to have a flexible tool that enables us to adjust to changing the environment. For example, we are not able to predict what will be the difference between typesetting the same formula by 3 engines. Let's see. Word, Microsoft Word, and LuaTeX keep the top baseline okay. But suddenly this baseline is not preserved in the ZTech. In ZTech you can see that this dot is a bit higher, and in math these glyphs in the denominator are larger than here. And we are not able to control this. So this is one example. That now second. Perhaps the source of this troubles is that because of the nowadays technology or tradition, there is no possibility of collecting a few phones and into a structured entity. Therefore, Barbara quite rightly proposed that one phone should consist of many phones actually. But this idea is okay for nowadays technology, but it's certainly insufficient. It's not future. It's not for far future. It's not a good idea. For example, now the phones, the radicals are typeset in such a way that this root, the number, is floating higher and higher. And I prefer something like this. And there is no mechanism in OTF phones to control this. Oh, I know this mechanism. Its name is Hans Hagen. But he has a lot of work to position just silly numbers in radicals. Moreover, such notches are impossible to eliminate. You must be sure that if you typeset using, for example, Word radical, then you will have such notches in large scale. Let's assume that we use higher solution typesetters and that this doesn't matter very much, but anyway, you cannot control this. Knuth did a lot of effort to control this rounding. And this rounding cannot be here, we cannot even dream about it. And as I said, we want to have a small, you can call it patchwork if you want, a small engine, flexible, adjustable to all situations that we face with. And variants. As I said, our first task in the future will be making variant. Which variant? Perhaps sans serif, all bold heavy sans serif as an extra thing. Presentation like that, but not about tech, but about math, could require math sans serif. It's obvious. Bold heavy variant, you can see there for titles. Why to ban math formulas from titles, section or chapter titles? They can live there. And this is not science fiction. Here you have an example for a renowned book, The Road to Reality, and you can see that here occur sans serif, italic, bold straight, and try to invent how to typeset it in sans serif, say. How to translate this sans serif into sans serif. Cannot. Yeah. So Piotr's talk was devoted to this problem, just how to manage this correspondence. About dreaming, I believe that I will see in my life typeless typography that is free of stiff, static glyphs, because we have such things, but they are actually assembled from static boxes. It's really idea of Gutenberg, very wisely used by Knuth, but times are changing. It's time for something new. So the idea is going around. A few years, a quarter century ago, Tomasz Leszczyński thought about this, even got this US patent number, something, for such manipulation on glyph that could adjust serifs, adjust ending of bars, shape of ending of the letter, and it was implemented in Tolle's system. It was experimental. It never was used in production. But now computers are much more powerful. Such things should be easy, but they are not easy because standard is fixed. Fonts cannot move their serifs. That's all. And think about music, chemistry, math. So math is not only area. Do you remember such a song, Imagine? Okay, this is why all these pseudodynamic glyphs cannot be replaced. I would ask rather when, and hope that rather sooner than later, maybe. Perhaps it's one of my favorite songs, but no, enough of dreaming. Another song is rather for us. And just to prepare an next font. So that's about all. Thank you very much for listening. Thanks very many thanks to tech user groups for support and for benevolent help, and thanks for the author of these drawings are used during my talk. And that's all. Maybe see you in Bachotek.
Lots of questions. Joseph?
Those that maintain the Beaver as a chemist who has things like grant proposals where I have to use sans serif fonts throughout. Quite interested to see that you've still got that on your radar. The problem is that it's probably not pure mathematicians who need math fonts that are sans serif. Pure mathematicians, serious mathematicians will stick to using serifs in lots of things. It's non-mathematicians who need it. How do you think that there's a tension there?
I don't think that the idea of math fonts is useful too far outside math. for example, I cannot see that this math technology can be used in music, for example, where you have a lot of slurs and there is infinite number of that.
So I was thinking more like, as a chemist, I have a formula, but because I don't care, I want it to look all the same. I don't particularly care about, because I will never need that
Okay,
sort of difference.
but if you have diagram, then you have infinite number of skewed symbols. Yeah. So you rather have to draw this skewed symbol. So of course you can merge font and drawing capabilities of the engine, but we are thinking about possibility of the font. In font, it can be a procedure, drawing line from here to there, using such a trajectory. Yeah?
Yeah, maybe it's very naive what I'm going to say, but we have seen several talks in previous conference about Arabic typesetting, and I thought, well, they had these letters which extended or contracted, changed shape, and so on, and it was close to what you say about your idea of fluid font. So I was wondering, they had a lot of experience, maybe not some finished result, but a lot of interesting experience and lessons about fluid things.
Yes, it's good track to explore, but they still use stiff fonts.
Because they have nothing else.
Yeah, but it's time to think about something else. Just to think.
Do you think the first place to experiment with this is in mathematical fonts, or the same sort of experiment can be done with text fonts in microtypography type style?
No
I don't
idea.
know.
Perhaps math is a good starting point because we know it less or more. So Arabian calligraphy is all Greek to me. So perhaps it's not the best starting point. Don't know. It needs time. It's not simple task. You know, because it's again the mainstream of technology. Thinking that way is heresy, simply. I hope that I will not be burnt.
I have one suggestion maybe. If you design a sans serif maths font, then maybe in the sans serif slots there should be a serif font. Spot. Maybe. actually, I could probably do that already if people want to. Anyway, please join me in thanking Jackowski once again.